So today we're presenting on valuing wildlife and economic valuation of the Bornean orangutan. My name is Victoria Mosqueda, and my classmates are Khalid Alani and Brandon Pack. A little bit of background on the Bornean orangutan. It has the scientific name of Pongo pygmaeus. The Bornean orangutan are one of the three species of orangutan that are endemic to Borneo, which is an island. They have characteristically wider faces, trimmer beards, and a slightly darker hair color compared to other orangutans. These orangutans are known as the largest arboreal mammals, which means they're tree-dwelling. This species is currently endangered due to an increased demand for timber and lumber, which displaced the mammals, as well as man-made fires for palm oil plantation, hunting, and illegal animal and pet trading. So today we're evaluating the ecosystem services the Bornean orangutans provide. The Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, done in 2005, defines this as the functions and products of ecosystems that benefit or yield welfare to society. Our research question is, what is the monetary value of one Bornean orangutan using the travel cost method, the contingent valuation method, and the ecosystem production function analysis? Borneo is a large island in Southeast Asia. It's made up of 3 countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. Bornean orangutans are endemic to this island, but are primarily only found within the Malaysian and Indonesian parts of Borneo. So where can we find them? Primarily found in Indonesia and Malaysia. There are no permanent populations in Brunei. Here is a list of where they can be found. So I'm doing the travel cost method. This method is a technique that measures the monetary value of ecotourism and recreational activities linked to a species, providing a direct use value that can be quantified. This is a little bit of the roadmap of how I went about it. For my data, I found 10 tour packages, 7 were in Indonesia, and 3 were in the Malaysian part of Borneo. And from this data, I found that the total average price per day was $296.14, and the total average stay is about 6.5 days. The average round-trip flight from Los Angeles to 2 of their main airports comes out to be $1,143, and I also added some photography permits. So I found that the average price per trip per person is about $3,644. To find the annual revenue, I had to find the number of yearly tourist visitors, which varied by location, and I had to find the number of orangutans found in each location, which also varied. So the average price per trip we found out was $3,644.84. And how I found the monetary value of one orangutan was I multiplied the trip price by the yearly tourists by specific location, divided by the number of orangutan individuals for a specific location. So for example, the Semingo Wildlife Center, I did the trip price that we know times the 97,000 tourists they receive yearly, divided by the 40 orangutans that are in the center, and I got 1.3 million. That's how I found the total average monetary value of one orangutan to be $1,466,953.92.
I use the continued valuation method, which is a survey tool that estimates how much people are willing to pay for environmental goods like endangered species. And so for this first study at Sepulveda Orangutan Rehabilitation Center, they surveyed 143 visitors asking if they would pay a higher entrance fee. And then by using logistic regression, they calculated the mean willingness to pay, which was 7.27 ringgits per visitor, and multiplying this by the number of visitors, which is 1,330,000, the total value, the total annual economic value came out to be at $2,217,650 US. And then by dividing this by the number of orangutans, which is 60, each orangutan is valued at $36,960.83. And for this next study at the Kamaman Zoo, they surveyed 252 visitors, and the mean willingness to pay came out to be 18.59 ringgits, implying an extra 8.59 ringgits beyond the current ticket price. And then assuming 50,000 visitors per year, the total value was $98,193.14. And dividing this again by the number of orangutans, which is 2, each was valued at $49,096.57. And for my last study, I used mountain gorilla as a reference, and because it's relevant to our species since they face similar threats and share similar habitats. And so for this study, they surveyed 209 tourists, and the mean willingness to pay was $277.51 per visitor. And with 8,760 visitors annually, the total value came out to be $2,431,287.60. And again, dividing this by the population of gorilla in that location, which was 459, each gorilla is valued at $5,297.59. And so to find a single value from my method, I averaged the values from the 3 studies, which was $30,451 with a 95% confidence interval ranging from $27,815.91 to $32,025.87.
Okay, I'm looking at ecosystem production function, and I'm basically a brief overview is ecosystem production function describes how natural processes convert inputs such as sunlight, water, and nutrients into outputs such as food, clean air, or other ecosystem services. So I'm looking to see how the Bornean orangutan contributes to those, and a lot of it's due to seed dispersal and how it maintains the forest structure and biodiversity. So my first step is looking at seed dispersal. I made a little formula. So first I started with the average caloric intake per day, which was 2,400 kcals. And I divided that by the calories per fruit, giving me the total number of fruit. Once I got the total number of fruit, I multiply that by the percentage of their diet that's made up by fruit, which is 60%, so 0.6. Got the quantity of fruit that might make up their diet. Then I multiply that by the average seed count for that fruit, and then multiply that number by the percentage of whole seeds found in their feces, which is 61.4%. And then I got that number and multiply that by the germination percentage rate, and got the quantity of growing plants, and then multiply that by the average plant cost, and then multiplied that by 365 days. These are the fruits that I looked at that they consumed, added them all up, and I got this value here. And then for the next one, I made another formula for nitrogen and nutrient cycling. First off with the day count, 365 days for an annual rate. The average times that they drop a feces per day was 2 to 3 times, so I just averaged those out. The average fecal mass was about 2 kilograms, and the nitrogen concentration in the feces about 1.8, with an excretion factor of 90%. So multiplying those all together, I got this value. Then I took a look at agricultural grade nitrogen fertilizer, and this is the cost. So when I multiplied those together, I got these two values, and I averaged them out to get a single value right here. For my last one, I did one more formula, taking the average caloric intake, 2,400 kcals again, divide that by the calorie per leaf. The average leaf width, I also multiplied, and then I multiplied in that percentage of the diet, which was 20% this time that the leaves make up. And to get the annual rate to 365 days, multiply that by the dollar per meter squared of the forest. So I just looked at orangutans' natural habitat. And then these are the main leaves that they ate. So I took an individual calculation for each of these using this formula, and then divided them by 3, and that gave me this value.
Here's our data combined. Our combined single dollar value came out to $6,091,026. Our results support our hypothesis because our value is over $1 million. However, each method has their own set of limitations, which are listed here below. And the take-home message is when assessing different monetary values to wildlife, the number isn't straightforward. Valuing species can be very difficult and tedious, but it's very important to advocate for their worth and the services they provide.